Hello everybody, Mr. O here, and I'm about to do gesso on my stretch canvas. Couple things. Now, this you probably aren't going to have to do yourself. So I stole the ruler over from the clay room because there's no paint sticks over here. And there's no palette knives either. So when paint or gesso is not stored in an even controlled room, and unfortunately, public schools do not always air their rooms or heat their rooms year-round, keeping it a normal temperature. So when things become a dramatic temperature, paint bottles and stuff like that will like separate. And what you got to do is you got to stir. Now, this is already going to be done. And by the time this thing of gesso is all completed, you know, you guys will be probably, I don't know, out of high school. There's plenty of gesso to do canvases and stuff like that, but I wanted you to see the process. The other thing I want to talk about is if you're a student of mine or if you watch the YouTube videos, I try to keep things clean, not because you know, I'm worried about damaging or destroying my stuff. I am, but also out of respect. Art is supposed to be a release. Art is supposed to be a reflection of who we are. I don't mean to get spiritual or religious with you guys, but I do know I take a lot of influence from the Japanese and Chinese culture when it comes to, you know, art as a discipline. And I don't mean discipline like something negative. I don't mean discipline as in military. I mean focus on every movement has meaning. I want, when I do, whether it's something comic book, whether it's something about who I am as a person, I want people to get to know me without me saying anything. And every movement that I do, keeping things clean, because if you look at the table, the tables in the high school art room are pretty filthy. Eventually, over time, I'm going to get them really nice and clean. I'm going to, you know, scrub them down and show people how to take care of things. Not because I want things super clean, but out of respect for yourself and other people, because the other people who use it, and more importantly, the custodian. The custodians, even though they are paid, their job is not to clean up after us. Their job is to pick up the things that we miss. And so I'm going to, usually I have a palette knife, but I cannot find a palette knife in these art rooms. I've looked in 2 rooms, so I'm just going to use a brush. I'm going to try to keep it off the metal, but this is the one time I'm going to probably just take my time scooping. Like, could I rush and really get this and maybe clean my brush easily, very well? Yeah, but I'm not going to, because it's not about getting done. If you're in a painting class, it's not going to be about, you know, getting your project done. If you're in an advanced class, it's not going to be, I'm going to need more gesso than this, but you're not going to watch me paint the whole thing. I'm going to probably do a cutaway and then I'll show you. I am going to get some paint on the table that needs to be washed off. And I'm just going to start in the center. And I'm going to just paint. I want to make sure everything is filled, so I will paint thick. I want to keep my brush wet. And I wish I had a bigger brush, but this is the one I chose. Usually what I do is I go to my brushes, and the roughest brush, you know, that's getting close to the end, is the one I use for gesso. It's basically like a heavy-duty acrylic paint. It's going to fill the grooves. It's going to dry firmer. And that's why I'm just going to, and I would do this for oil paint too, because, you know, oil will paint over almost anything. I'm sure there's something it doesn't paint over too well, but I'm not going to research this at the moment. And I'm going to paint everything. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is, what's going to be a little different is when I paint the sides, you see me painting the sides, and like I said, I don't want to stretch it too thin. I'm going to paint around the edge too, because you see this right here? I think that looks ugly. We're going to finish our canvas, and I'm going to basically, I want this painted, whether it's black or I'm painting, wrapping my drawing around my inspiration, my painting, but I want to go and wrap to the back of the stretch canvas. I hope that makes sense. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the video, and I'm just going to show you when my painting of the gesso is done and it's ready for whatever I'm going to create. Well, welcome back, everybody. I just want to point out that I used the old canvas to kind of keep the white paint off the table. But you can use a piece of masonite. This one was definitely been used for painting gesso, and you can see it's a little warped now. There's old watercolor on the back from a previous year, who knows how old. So I just wanted to point out it's mostly dry. It's not completely dry, but I just want to get the video done. Let's just look at the back. As you can see, there's a little bit of trimming I need to do, but more importantly, there's some spots, as you can see, as it's drying, that I'm missing. And I'm gonna have to clean the brush because I got white paint all over it. Maybe I should have just waited a little longer. What you're gonna do is just you don't need it to be completely even. That's a misnomer. You just need to make sure spots like this right here is what needs to be covered. That you don't see any of the raw canvas. As long as you're not showing any of the raw canvas, you are more than fine. And because it's always gonna be a little uneven, because when you go over spots, you're gonna make some spots thicker than others, stuff like that. So don't worry about that. And again, please be considerate of the tables, making sure you clean up everything, clean up the brushes. As you can see, this is the brush I originally used, and I was just painting right out of the bucket there. I would not recommend that, not because you can't handle it, but because if you accidentally spilled the whole bucket because somebody's grabbing, I know this may shock you, but high school kids, middle school kids can be impatient sometimes. It's best not to lose the whole bucket. This I will keep in the cabinet, the white gesso. You will probably need to, I won't have them labeled just when you get started, so just be aware of that. For those of you who are at home, you can go to Blick Art Store, Hobby Lobby, your local art store for gesso. And guys, I hope this is helpful. And like I said, I recommend a clean back. I recommend that you fold, do a second fold, get it to the point where it gets to the staples. Notice my staples compared to the other staples. And when you do your fold, make sure you're clean or you end up with something like this. And guys, you're beautiful, and I don't have enough white, are loved. I'm gonna have to put something in there, but there's a little light heart there for you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.